Good evening, everyone. How are you doing? Hey, Tawana. Hey,
Hey,
KB.
Crystal. Hey,
Hey,
KB.
Crystal. Hey, Tawana.
Everyone tonight. Hey, Kimberly Reviews. How are you doing? It's so good to see you. I can't wait until more people come in. Shout out to Trey Mack. I hope he comes in tonight because he's the one that requested that we review this show. And this was a doozy. So
Yeah.
please, if you have any other reviews or ideas or requests for us to review, please let us know. Especially while we got Katie while she's less busy like this.
Yes.
So we reviewed Candy. I'm gonna get you guys going. And so we reviewed Candy, and this is Jessica Biel, and actually her husband Justin Timberlake's in it as the police officer.
I didn't realize that till towards the end. I was like, wait, is that Justin?
That's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
And I saw pictures that they were both in the same movie, but I was like, gosh, I haven't seen him yet. And I said, wait a minute. Have I been looking at the police officer this whole time?
Yes.
Yes. So let's go. Okay, so we review Candy. Y'all know I got mouse control issues. This
Okay.
is what I want to go to. So this is, of course, Jessica Biel. This is the original lady. This is the woman that she murdered. Sorry, that's her, and this is the actress that played her. Very well known actress. But what was so interesting? Of course, this was 1983. But
It was early 80s. Yeah.
early 80s. She looked substantially older than 30,
Yes.
and I was like, whoa! It said that she's only 30. And I was like, wow. So of course they both have two kids each. Well, oh gosh, what is her name? What's her name, KB?
Which one? The character, the actor.
No, the actress is Linsky, but the woman that she murdered,
Eddie Gore.
Betty. Thank you, Betty. So Betty's husband, let me go back to Betty. I'm so sorry, Betty. I really want to know how you guys would characterize her. She's just going through a lot. She's got a lot of stresses. She's a nuisance, a little bit of a nuisance. But at the same time, I just feel like, too bad not, therapy wasn't so okay back then. Because I was like, girl, you just need somebody to just talk to. And she was just going through a lot.
I think she needed a friend.
Yes.
She didn't look like she had any friends.
Yeah. I agree.
She was kind of standoffish from the church group.
From the
The group of ladies at church. She always felt like they were talking about her, and they were. How you look at somebody like, oh, look
she
at
was an
her over
outsider.
there or whatever.
She was an outsider, and she felt like that. And the ladies did not shy away from making sure that she felt like that as well. If she, she would try to make suggestions, but it was just fell on deaf ears, or they really talked about her behind her back, and she was very prickly. What would you call her? Prickly? What would you call her, KB?
Yeah, I think prickly is a good term for her. So after I watched the series, because something was off with the way that they depicted her, I saw apparently Snapped did an episode about this murder. And what they said was that Betty actually had postpartum depression. And so I felt like it didn't appear like postpartum depression on the screen when I was watching it, because they just made it seem like she, like you said, prickly the whole time.
Right.
But it was postpartum depression, which that didn't resonate. Like they didn't really show that in the show.
I didn't get that.
Yeah.
From the depiction either, because when her husband was leaving on the business trip, she didn't know that she was pregnant then. Right?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Well, she had postpartum depression. It was kind of clear that there was something going on after the baby, but I even feel like after, when she had her first child, and I have a picture of the full family later on.
Yeah, I think something else was going on prior to her getting pregnant with the second baby.
Exactly. That's what I really got. Like and it could have been lingering postpartum depression when it's not treated. Like I said, like when you haven't had that therapy,
Mhm.
it comes in different ways. So, and this is Jessica Biel's, Candace's
Mhm.
family, her 2 kids and her husband. And Candace, she was part of the in girl. She was part of the in, the group,
Yep.
and she was part of the church, the choir, and everything.
Right.
But her husband was, oh my gosh, this man was a goober. Oh my God.
He was. He was.
A goober. Yeah.
I was like, are you not picking up these signs? What is happening? Like,
No.
and he just wasn't picking up these signs. I actually think I have a picture of him before a real life picture of him as well. Yes, that was the real life guy.
That was the 80s.
That was the 80s. But I was like, this poor man, like, and she is like giving you all kinds of red flags. Like she's saying that I need some excitement, and he just wasn't
Need
picking
some
it up.
attention. He wasn't getting it at
He
all.
wasn't. Yeah. When they read that, well, I don't know if we're going to get into that book.
Yeah.
And then he was just like, I liked it. I liked that it rhymed.
Yes. So,
Yeah, like,
look, they
sir.
read mystery novels, or the girls like the old
The erotic.
Yeah.
erotic novels. And he was like, oh, I didn't think it was gonna rhyme. I liked it rhyme. We were like, oh man, what is this? She's trying to get something out of you. And there was it was nothing. And then they what else? Oh, she would just really sometimes he'd be sitting there watching TV and she would just go and try to attack him. She was like, okay, let's get in nothing. He's like, let's watch.
Try to be spontaneous. Hey, let's watch TV.
Yeah.
Let's watch TV. So she was trying different things and nothing was happening. And so what's interesting, okay, and Tawana hit me to this. There was a pastor. I thought that was the pastor's wife, but the pastor's black woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this was the pastor's wife, but so she keeps confiding in the pastor and saying, why can't I have an affair? Like she was dead set on having this affair.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because she was bored and I guess reading the books, because I think the pastor was sharing the books with her.
Yeah, the pastor was the one that gave her the one that rhymed. Yes.
Right. So just want some excitement in her life. Like, I'm home with the kids all day. I don't do nothing. You go to work. I mean, she had her friends at church.
Mm-hmm.
But and volleyball every Thursday.
Yes,
she did have volleyball.
Y'all, who puts on makeup to go volleyball? Who puts on makeup to go play volleyball?
When you're trying to get into something,
Andy
puts on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but you were just talking about something. Not the volleyball, but she really wanted to get into something. She even did the Marriage Encounters, which is a marriage group.
Yeah, but I don't think she liked it or whatever.
She didn't like it. They were always trying to do something. I even thought that the husband was cheating so much so because he just was really just not interested. He just was not picking up any signs. I said, is he doing something? What's happening? And that wasn't it at all.
No, I think he was just, a family guy, into loving his family, loving the kids, but he just wasn't picking up on the signs and just clueless.
And I'll say this about just this whole series and all of the marriages that they have in the series. I feel like these are some of the marriages that people nowadays like to romanticize about being long-term marriages and stuff. And when you go and look at it, there were a few affairs happening and a lot of people were unhappy in these marriages.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree. And it's so funny. You see this, people have an idealized view of marriage. And
romanticize it.
Romanticize it. And really, all kinds of stuff was happening. Like people were doing all kinds of like swinging and all kinds of stuff in the marriages, but nobody addressed it. Nobody said anything because they thought that, oh no, these are the long lasting marriages and relationships. Well, they weren't. It was very flawed, very flawed. So I want to get into, so Kandi stops him at volleyball practice, right? After or playing volleyball. She's so dead set on having this affair and she's just watching the guys play volleyball. And, you know, of course, part of this is production, but they drove home the fact that she had decided to have this affair, that she gets in his car and she's like, I'd like to have an affair with you. I'm very attracted to you.
Wait, before we get into that, I just want to bring up.
Go ahead. Did you freeze?
KB?
Uh-oh. Come back. She froze.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. So y'all, when KB comes back in, we'll have her pick it back up.
Okay.
Tawana, you were talking about the they listed the pros and cons. So she gets out of the car and she's
But wait. I have a question, a quick question.
Yes.
So when she got in the car with him to let him know that she wanted to have an affair with him, was this before she saw the pastor with her boyfriend?
This was after.
After. Okay, because you know, she saw how flirty they were with each other and how, you know, just how touchy they were and how they looked at each other. And, you know, something that she wants.
Yes, it was right after, as a matter of fact. It was almost the next week. So she saw them one Thursday, and then the next Thursday, she has made
That's when she put on the lipstick.
Exactly. And a halter top to play volleyball. That's when she did this. And so I guess the next day, and honestly, it's so interesting. I was like, ooh, she's really controlling this. She thought that she's controlling the situation. She said, this is what we're going to do. It's got to be between this time to this time. Don't call me at home. Like she has made all of these stipulations. And and she said, if we catch feelings, then we cancel immediately. We stop everything immediately. Okay, remember that. There's because we're going to get back to that. So yes. So Betty is down. This picture is right after she has the second baby. So another thing I want to touch on while KB is coming back, this picture here, the reason why her husband has this, because now he's stressed because she says, I'm pregnant. Right. So he's decided, okay, I'm going to have this affair. This woman has approached me, but I haven't said I agree yet. And now that's going to alleviate some stress, I guess. So he tells Kandi that my wife is pregnant, but they're like, oh, okay, well, let's get it going. And she still has sex with him. She's still
crazy.
He's with her affair.
But wait, can we back up to, okay, so in the beginning, you see that, you know, they wake up in the bed and the oldest daughter isn't home. The oldest daughter is at Kandi's house with her kids. You know, she had spent the night, or maybe it was a weekend or whatever. And I'm guessing this is during the summertime, right? Because I ain't seen no kids in school, and they look about school age.
Yes.
Except for, you know, Kandi's youngest son. But Betty had an issue. Like, she wanted her daughter to come home. And I guess she thought Kandi was going to bring her home that day. And she's like, oh, you know what? Well, she can stay another night. And Betty's like, oh, well, she's got swim practice or swim lessons. Oh yeah, I'll just come by and get her swimsuit.
Right.
And that Betty didn't like that. It's like, I'm ready for my child to come home, you know, drop her off.
She's
Because
manipulating.
she didn't have anything to do. My child to come home.
She's manipulating the situation. Sorry about that, y'all. She's
Mhm.
manipulating the situation. Candy is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
and of course, Betty doesn't know that she's manipulating her, but she's easily, dissuaded. She's easy to manipulate because, she wants friends and she's like, oh no, it's fine. And I was like, she wants her daughter to come home. She doesn't want her
Yeah.
daughter to be out like this, but you're like, oh no, I'll come by and get her swimsuit and I'll do this and I'll do that. And I said, wow, this girl's
Betty should have just said no.
should have just said no.
Bring her home.
Yeah.
I'll take her to swim. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Candy
so
the situation from the beginning.
but I think now that I think back, she had known about the affair at this point.
Betty?
Yeah. Because when she came to get the swimsuit, that's when everything had happened, right? So they had showed, that morning of what went down and everything, and then they backtracked, like how it got to that point.
Right. And she said, I
think about it.
I know you're having an affair with my husband.
Yeah.
Do you think that's how that conversation went though? Because I think that Candy was so paranoid after the and we're gonna get into this baby shower, after the baby shower that she put on.
That was.
And see, and this is the part of the manipulation. This is the part of the sadistic side of her, is because right now here in this picture here, she knows that this woman is pregnant, but she also knows that I'm sleeping with your husband.
Mm-hmm.
But she moseys on and sits next to her and asks how you're doing. It's like, it's sadistic because she knows I'm cheating with your husband, but I'm going to sit here and smiling in your face.
Right.
I'm doing a baby shower on for you.
I'd have been mad. If I was Betty, I'd have been mad too. I'd have tried to kick her tail.
Exactly. But I'm like, and as Betty was like, we hardly even speak.
Right. But I think Betty didn't pick up on anything because Betty just wanted a friend.
Yeah.
So she didn't think anything of it, at the time of the baby shower.
Right.
Or maybe even before, when she said, oh, let me throw you a baby shower, that at that point she didn't know that her husband was having an affair.
You're absolutely
right. It was after the baby shower.
She had no idea. At the baby shower, she definitely didn't know, but part of Candy, just the little tiny things that Betty would say, she's like, oh, she must know. And I no, that's because you are that's your guilt talking right there.
Mm-hmm.
But Betty truly wanted and needed a friend. She just wanted somebody to talk to and hang with. As a matter of fact, now you're bringing it back to me. Even after they stopped the affair, Candy stopped hanging out with Betty, and Betty was like, well, did I do something wrong? Like, she wanted to be friends with, she just wanted to get back in the,
she thought it was a genuine friendship that was developing.
And it
was not.
That is truly sadistic, because it was not a genuine friendship. But of course, Betty didn't know that.
Right. So at the time, Betty didn't know.
So she's suffering from postpartum depression. Her husband's like fooling around. Okay. So then she's like, well, she has, I wonder how old are her children, like 10 or so. And then she goes and she wants to, after she gets fired from the job, she wants to adopt it. She wants to like look at foster care again. Can we talk about that a little bit? Like, it's sometimes when you're depressed or sometimes when you're going through something, you put one more thing on top of it. Oh, well, maybe this will make me happy. Oh, well, maybe this will make me happy. And I'm like, girl, another child is not going to help your situation right now.
It's not going to help you.
What did you think about that, KB? Now that KB's back, are you back?
Welcome back.
I'm back. Sorry for technical difficulties. I'm just in the dark. Okay. Yes.
I would like to talk about these scenes with the foster child, because I felt bad for her, but I also I was like, she's just not getting it, like the invitations and everything. And I was like, oh. And I at that point I was like, what's his name? Bob. I can't remember his name,
Oh, I can't either.
but he really
Her
wasn't helping.
husband?
Her husband.
Oh,
really
Alan.
Was it Alex?
Alex. Yes, Alan.
No, it's Alan.
Oh, Alan. Okay.
Alan.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, y'all. He wasn't helpful at all. Go ahead.
No, he wasn't. I don't think that they were prepared for a foster child. I think that they just wanted a perfect child. And even the scene before this, and when you get to know more about Betty in her past, she was a school teacher.
Right.
Yeah.
So she really wanted to make a difference, but she also wanted a friend. She really wanted to she really wanted to make a difference in these kids' lives, but I think she was still
KB,
depressed.
are you frozen?
Oh, she's frozen again.
KB? Oh.
KB's
she
having
was talking.
Okay, y'all. KB will be back. And then so yeah, she was a school teacher. She lost her job being a school teacher, and then she put all the class on detention because some kids through Exeter House. She didn't know what kids did it, so she put all the kids on detention. You can't do that.
Right.
And then losing her job, she after losing her job, then she wants to adopt this child or foster this child. And the little girl, her daughter, and the little boy were friends, but it just didn't work out. And she was like,
it didn't work out.
It didn't work out. And I can't remember what that line that she said, but she needed somebody to listen to her because her husband wasn't listening. Her husband wasn't there for her. So, and I think her husband started, because that wasn't the right thing to do either, is just to get you take on this child and then who needs a family, and now you get rid of him. Like, that's not the right thing to do either. So,
well, I think he was trying to help. Like, okay, if my wife says this is what's going to make her happy, all right, let's do it.
Right.
But then it doesn't work out the way that she thought it was going to work out, or he thought it was going to work out. He's just trying to make her happy.
He was just trying to make her happy. But he was doing everything, or I don't know. I think, I don't know. Was he doing everything wrong?
I think he just didn't know how to help, right? I think that they wanted a child, and I think they weren't prepared for all of the difficulties that the child could have, right? And hopefully I don't freeze again. The problem with her is, like, when you go through her background, she was a teacher, but it didn't seem like she was happy teaching. And I think at some point I don't want to say she doesn't like kids, but she might only like small children or children that are very well behaved, or maybe even her own. But it just doesn't, because from the teaching scenes, I thought, why would you want to bring in a foster child? You seem to not like them. Like, you seem to not like kids, so why would you do that?
Right.
And kids are not going to be well behaved all the time. Like, they're just not, and they're not going to be okay with certain things.
No. And I feel like, again, this goes to I don't even want to call it the old wives' tale. The warning that we've all heard is that a kid isn't going to save your marriage. Like, so this foster child didn't save the marriage. The child that they had didn't save them. It's just, you're introducing this child because you think it's going to make you happy, but you have to be happy first.
Right. Absolutely. And she just was not happy. And then getting pregnant. And I was like, oh, this is just all bad. Like, I was like, this is not gonna make you happy.
Yeah.
But so now she's getting pregnant. And also, she said, I still haven't lost the baby weight from the first baby, which was about 6. I feel like her daughter was at least 6. I thought she was a little older.
Yeah, she was in school. She already was sending the invitations to the kids in school for a birthday party.
Right.
The
boy. So that's another thing.
Remember, the invitations were the ones
were the girls.
Yeah, the little girls, and she's using Raggedy Ann invitations. I was like, oh my gosh! And the little boy, he didn't mind. How he wanted to have a party, but I'm not going to send Raggedy Ann an invitation. I was like, get that boy some invitations.
That's
in the 80s, invitations was, I'm sure, $3. Just like get regular invitations. But to her, they're just fine. To her, she just didn't. And to me, that's when her husband could have stepped in. That's when her husband could have done something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Okay, we're gonna get into the actual act now. Okay, so the affair is over. I feel like their affair lasted about 6 months, right? I feel like it lasted
I think so.
Yeah.
about 6 months, and so she has the what do you call it? The baby shower for her. They
Yeah.
can't they stopped sleeping together because she's suspicious now. I think that was her guilt talking. I don't think that, and that's what we were talking about when you were gone, KB. Is that during the baby shower, I don't think that she knew.
I don't think she knew either.
I don't think she knew. I think when Betty started talking about her and her husband were going to couples, what is it called?
Marriage and
Couples and communication or something. Yeah, when they started going, so Betty started sharing that at the baby shower. Oh, me and my husband, we started going to couples counseling or whatever. And I think some of the ladies that were at the baby shower are also in the marriage counseling thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's when Candy was like, "Oh my gosh, she knows," because that's when Candy started throwing shade on the marriage counseling.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, me and my husband went. It didn't work. It wasn't for us. Blah blah blah. Because she knows in the marriage counseling, you're supposed to be transparent, be open. You're starting, want to start fresh with your marriage. So just be open. So I think that's when Candy started panicking, like, oh my gosh, she knows.
Yeah.
She has to know.
Did we go over the rules that they had for that, for the affair?
Did we? No, we didn't, but we can.
Okay, yeah, because I wrote some of the rules down. So when they were about to have the affair, Alan and Candy, they had these rules that they were going to do. So the first one was they were going to sleep together every other week. They were going to go to a motel close to Alan's job. And because it was Alan's job and they were going to do it on his lunch break, Candy was going to bring him lunch. And they were going to pay cash for the hotel and split the bill right down the middle. And then the last one was no feelings. So they weren't going to catch feelings. So one person got feelings for the other one. Then
it was over.
It was over. They were going to stop.
We did, and that we said let's remember that because that was very important. If either of us catch feelings, that's when it's over, right?
Yeah.
So and the one thing I did Tawana and I were talking about is like she thinks she's in control of this because she's made all of these rules. This is the rule: we don't call each other at home. We don't use our home numbers. None of those. So she's making all of these rules, is making it more analytical, making it more methodic than us having an actual emotional affair. And that's when everything goes left. So okay, so now they have the affair for about 6 months, and I don't know, the last time they slept together, she's saying that this is our last time we're having catching feelings for you. I caught myself staring at you in church. But I was like, gosh.
That wasn't, because she tried to break it off because she said she was catching feelings.
Right.
And then he said he didn't want it to stop.
Right.
And when they actually broke it off, it was because Alan and Betty were doing marriage and
marriage.
Counseling, and he said it was working, so I need to stop.
Yes, that's key because their last 3 encounters, rendezvous, he canceled on, he no-showed. So he said, I don't want to keep doing this because I really want to start to devote more time to my marriage. So that he felt like it was working and he wanted it to stop. But it was so crazy because that night it was a back and forth. Candy said, I want to stop. He said he didn't want to stop. They have sex again. And then a week or two later, he starts no showing for the encounters. So they kind of just pushed
Yeah,
off.
yeah. And one thing that came up after the baby shower, when she thought that he confessed about the affair, he actually said that Betty was the one that had the affair. And that was something that came out.
At the beginning of their marriage,
Yeah.
Betty had an affair. I was like,
She did? I don't remember that part.
Yes, it was her. And Candy thought it was, that he told on them, but it was actually Betty that had an affair. Yes. That surprised me. Oh, okay. Betty had the affair.
Betty.
Yeah.
Okay, Betty.
Yeah. So the day they go to so her daughter, she's having a sleepover at her daughter's house, and then this is what Tawana was just talking about the that night. She was like, well, we'll keep her for another night, and she calls Candy calls Betty, and is like, we'll keep her, it's fine. And she wanted her daughter to come home. She's like, no, bring her home. And that's when, and she's like, well, they're going swimming. And she's like, well, and then the peppermint. No, well, I'll come by and get her swimsuit. And you also need a peppermint. If she does good in the swimming, I give her a peppermint and stuff like that so she can suck on it. So I was like, It was something Tawana brought up, is that she was very manipulative and controlling.
Yeah. Like, give me my child.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think at that point, did Betty know about their affair? Right? Because in the beginning, they show us, the first episode shows us the day of when it takes place. Right? Like the day that, they get up in the morning, the daughter spends the night at Candy's house, all right, it's the next morning, whatever. Candy drops the kids off at the church. They have their little rehearsal. And then, she's got all this running around to do. She's got to go. Did they say Target? She had to go to Target, or was it Walmart?
Yep. She lost track of time in Target. This lady,
she lost track of time. So then I think after that first episode is when they start to backtrack to show us how we got to, the present day.
Yeah, right. And her losing track of time in Target, she's not only explaining this to her child, she's explaining this to the lady at the church. Like I said, the fact that you keep explaining this is so suspicious, so suspicious. She keeps explaining it. And okay, so let's go to her going to the daughters, going to pick up the swimsuit. KB, do you think, I just don't know. I don't know that I believe that's how this conversation went. Because Tawana was saying, she's like, well, that's when she confronted her and said, I know you're sleeping with my husband. What do you think about that? Go ahead.
I don't think that's how it happened. I really don't, because I question how we determined Betty found out, because that was never answered, right?
Right.
Because according to Alan, he didn't tell Betty. And I don't see him wanting to tell Betty, honestly. I mean, besides all the usual, just the way that they had Betty in her personality, I just don't see her wanting to tell her, because I think he wouldn't want to hear her mouth, if that makes any sense. Like, that's the only reason why I feel like he wouldn't tell her. And then also the relationship between Betty and Candy, like they were friends up until the end. And I don't know if that's when she found out, but Candy didn't really tell anybody. So I'm just questioning how it is. Did Betty just find out and suspected something and did snooping on her own? But at that point, the affair had stopped. So I just don't know how Betty found out. That was an unanswered question in this movie.
Yeah, it was unanswered, but I'm thinking maybe because they're going to the marriage counseling. It's not really counseling, but I'm thinking maybe he did confess.
Marriage encounters? You think that he
Marriage
confessed to
encounters.
marriage
I'm
encounters?
I'm I'm thinking that, right, because they're there, and everyone there is a married couple, and they're talking about, I'm assuming, talking about things that are going on in their marriage, and maybe he feels comfortable in telling her that this is what happened because she confessed to an affair. That's me thinking, like,
Yeah, but then he tells the police and then he testifies that she didn't know about the affair, too.
he lied
Well,
under oath,
he's a liar,
right?
but yeah.
Because
Yeah.
because who were they going to ask? They can't ask Betty.
Mhm.
Did your husband tell you about the affair? I mean, I don't know. In my mind, I think that he did confess. Because why? Hmm. Well, we don't know Betty's side of the
Do
story.
you think that the guilt got the best? Because the guilt. Oh, yes, I have this.
Yeah.
Okay, so did the guilt get the best of her? Of Candace? Because I kind of agree that I just don't see him saying anything to Betty because Betty is so annoying. Or he's like the best thing if she does not figure it out, I'm not gonna say nothing.
Yeah.
Or has the guilt got the best of him that he's confided in people in marriage encounters? This is another thing I wanted to bring up. Candy is so messy. She's like, I've taken a lover. Like I said, are you
Yeah.
telling your friend? I said,
Yeah.
this is going to get out. I said, this is not that. This is not how adult. I don't do adultery, but I think you need to keep this to yourself. I was
All right, don't drag people into your mess.
Mhm.
exactly. So
Hmm.
to me, I thought, did somebody else tell Betty? I just thought that it was very messy of her, and it was very gossipy the way she did it too. Oh, I've taken a lover. Oh, and I can't tell you who it is, but
Hmm.
and I said, oh, this is going to
It
get
was
out.
exciting for her.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This was
Yeah.
absolutely exciting for her. It was so adventurous for her. As a matter of fact, it was so adventurous that even after the thing ended with Alan,
Alan.
she got another lover.
Yeah.
I want to ask y'all in a second who you think that is at the end. But because I have an idea of who I think that her other lover was. They didn't cover it, but I think I know who it was.
I think it
So
was somebody else in the church.
I definitely think it was somebody at the church. Yeah.
I think it
You
was the
don't?
lawyer. I think it was the lawyer.
I think it was too. But he was also in the church.
He wasn't in the church, but I just think the way she sauntered right into that law office, and he's like, "Hey, hey, Candy." I just think it was too convenient.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought it was the lawyer too.
I thought it
And
was the
especially the
lawyer.
way that he objected when they asked about, well, who would name the person, and he was like, "I object." No.
Secondly,
Yeah.
the way
Yeah.
Oh,
jumped
right.
up,
He sure did.
he
Yeah.
jumped up and
Yeah,
said,
I
"That
think
has
it was the
nothing
lawyer.
to do with this
I
case."
think it was the lawyer. Because then I went back and I watched the first episode, and the lawyer is there. He's the one that announces that that the pastor wasn't coming because she was getting a divorce.
Yep.
And then if you go back and watch the volleyball games, he's at the volleyball game.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
The lawyer.
I didn't pay him any attention until he was taking the case.
No, well,
Oh my
I paid more
gosh.
attention when he took the case, and then when they asked about a second lover, and he jumped up immediately, and he's like, "That has nothing to do with this case." And then she said, "I don't want to ruin his marriage," or whatever she said. And but he was so adamant that not to bring up her next lover, whoever she's having the second. It was. I said, "You're having." She's having with you.
And
That's
my
what.
thing is, it wasn't a surprise to him as a question. It wasn't like, as the lawyer, you're sitting there, have you had any other, you already knew to object already. It wasn't like they didn't show them having that conversation. He wasn't surprised by the question, and he knew he did not want her to answer who it was.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then when after court that same day said, "You're going to have to tell your husband. You're going to have to." And the husband, who said, "Who is it?" And was it his legal assistant? I think that somebody asked, well, who are you having an affair with? And she was like, well, I can't tell you now or whatever. But the lawyer said, you're going to have to tell him because it's going to get out that you had a second affair, you know. Cause so she was out here just wilding. She was just doing. Even when she was having an affair with Alan, she was like, well, if you want to try something different, please let me know. Like she was having a good time. She was having a good time. So, so now going back to the case, is that my last? Okay, that's Senzo. So y'all know I need mouse control. I need to, but going back to the case. So she goes over to get the swimsuit, the daughter's swimsuit.
Yeah.
How do you think this went? Because it seemed very fast, even though she's like, oh, I just lost track of time. I had to go to Target and my watch stopped and I lost track of time. I was like, then you had time to go take a shower. You had time to
She had the shower. She couldn't get in the car with them buddy clothes on.
Right. So she took the shower at Betty's house, which is really worse.
And where'd she get the clothes from? Did she wash them at Betty's house? Because I remember seeing her putting some clothes in the washing machine.
I think she did. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
I will let you guys go first and I will go last because this whole slide was my idea. So go ahead.
So Tawana, you go. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Do you think that you think that Betty confronted her?
I do. I think Betty said something like, I know you've had an affair with my husband and I wanted to stop. To me, I think Betty knew, but I think she found out when it was over. Hello?
I'm still here. I don't know that Betty knew. She would have definitely found out when it was over for sure. She was just way too happy to go to that baby shower. She was just ready to have friends.
Well, yeah, no, I don't think she knew during that time. I don't think she knew at the time of the baby shower.
So,
but I think I'm pretty sure they were still having an affair at the time of the baby shower, or maybe it was fizzling out.
It was fizzling out. I think that she knew he had an affair, but she didn't know who. That's what I think. I think that she knew she had a feeling that he was messing around, but she didn't know who with.
And so do you think that she was trying to confide in Candy?
Now
I think my husband is having or had an affair.
Yeah, because I think she came over and they used to be friends. I remember this conversation so clearly, like we used to be friends. What happened, right? So now this is another chance for her to actually have a one-on-one conversation with somebody who she thought was her friend and is no longer a friend. What's going on? And she probably tried to confide in her. They start having some conversation and she may have said, I haven't gotten the baby weight off, and Alan, I think, is fooling around on me. He takes these work trips, and I just don't know that she confronted her about her Candy. I don't know that she confronted Candy about the affair specifically. Like, was it you? Who are you? Are you the one having an affair with my husband? I don't think so. I just have a feeling that's not the impression I got from the miniseries. I didn't get that she was having that she confronted Candy specifically about cheating with Alan. I think that.
But then why would Candy kill her then?
See, I think she felt insecure. Like, look, she just feel, and I feel like.
But she had already moved on to a new lover.
Doesn't matter. That's what I think.
I think she liked Alan better. That's what I think. I think she lost the excitement of Alan, but she really wanted Alan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you believe Candy's version of the story?
At first I did, right? Because I had to watch the last episode. I watched it twice.
Me too.
Right? Because The first time I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, that's what happened. But then after watching it again, it was like, well, maybe it didn't go down like that, but you don't have Betty's side of the story.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying now is, well, maybe Betty wanted to confide in her in how she was feeling and thinking about, thinking that her husband had an affair on her. I think maybe she was confiding and trying to confide in Candy.
Okay.
And maybe that's Candy thought like, oh, she definitely knows it's me.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
So I didn't really believe the Candy's story. I felt like if she came there and she went out, she confronted her with an axe and said, "I know you're cheating with my husband. I know you're cheating." What did she say? I know you're sleeping with my husband.
Yeah.
Stop it. He's mine. Then why would she put the axe down? Then why didn't you just take the bathing suit and go? Or I'm going to get my child. Like I felt like, then you turn your back on her. I just felt that I was like, this is like I've scared her enough. I'm gonna put the axe down. And I just felt like that was just too loose to me. I just didn't believe that. She probably confided in her saying, I think that Alan's having an affair. Like I want my friend back. You and I thought that we were building on a friendship,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're no longer friends. I think that she tried to like get her friend back, but I what you just said about she liked Alan better, and she even said, "I'm catching feelings for you."
Yeah.
She liked the excitement. I don't even know that she really wanted Alan. I just think she likes the excitement.
She just wanted some excitement in her life. She was
Yeah,
bored.
She's really bored. And it was a thrill to her to be friends with Betty and smile in Betty's face and cheating with her husband on TV.
Yes.
That was a thrill to her. So
That was cruddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
No, it really was. It
so
really was.
so now going to her hitting her with this axe, like you just said, why would she kill her? Did she go into a manic state? Like, did she?
So, all right. So let's go through what this is, because this is the penal code for Texas, which is where all of this takes place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we were reviewing Killer Sally, I remember that's when we got the suggestion for this.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just always like to start with what are the rules that we are playing by. And so the rules that we were playing by in Texas is that you are committing homicide if there is intent, knowledge, recklessness, or criminal negligence, right? And in Texas, they don't have first degree murder or second degree murder. What they have is there's basically murder, right? And then there's capital murder, and capital murder has that increased element of if you knew something special about the victims, right? So if you kill more than one person, then that increases it to capital murder. If the person was a police officer, it increases to capital murder. Mm-hmm. This one would just be murder, which is what this slide in the bottom right corner is. And so under this law, what the prosecutor has to show is that it was intentionally, knowing that they caused a death, or, which is what I think that she did, intends to cause serious bodily injury and commits the act clearly dangerous to human life that causes the death of an individual. So that's what I think Candy's is. And so essentially what the defense did in this case is they just conceded the point that, yes, she did, according to this rule, commit murder, right? And then this isn't capital murder, so death penalty wasn't on the table. And then, so that shifts the burden of proof, because what they did was the self-defense verdict. And kind of completely off topic here. The reason why I always like to start with what you have to prove and what the actual statute is is because I feel like when you don't start with the statute, you kind of get confused and lost in some of the details. Like I know in the what is that? The Meg Thee Stallion, Tory Lanez case, right? So one thing I've never heard anybody say, but I will just say it here, and this is the only time I'll say anything publicly about this case, is with Tory Lanez, like a lot of people are like, he didn't shoot Megan. He wasn't charged with shooting Megan. He was charged with assault. And assault isn't like, so there's a difference between assault and battery, right? And so assault is just threatening someone. And so if you believe that he threatened her and threatened her with a gun, then that's what he was charged with. He wasn't actually charged with shooting her. And so people go into like, he didn't shoot her. And it's like, that's not how the statute reads. And you're arguing something else that he was never charged with. So that's why I'm like, start with the statute. What are the rules that we're going by? These are the rules, okay? So it's not even that she intended to kill her. She just intended to cause injury, and that injury led to death. That happened. If you're going to hit somebody with an axe, you cause injury that led to a death. And so they just conceded to that.
Okay. I love this. And I have a question about this then. That injury led to death, right?
Right.
Okay, she hit her with the axe. Doesn't her going and taking a shower afterwards, putting the stuff in the laundry, leaving her in that room by, not basically not calling the police afterwards, just going about her day, hanging out with the kids, doing the whole thing, that's not even criminal negligence. That's murder at that point, because she didn't call 911. She didn't. To me, that's, I don't know what the statute is. That's the statute.
Yeah. That's the statute for murder, actually. So yeah,
that is the murder, because
that is the murder statute. Yes,
led to death.
Yes,
because if she had called 911, although they couldn't have saved her, but that would have been her trying to help the situation, right?
Yes. So something like negligence would be if you hit someone in a car accident and then that person died. Like you weren't intending to kill them or even hurt them. It was just, you were driving poorly and you were negligent in that accident. But she was intending to hurt her with the axe.
Okay, she was intending to hurt her. Okay, let's say two hits with the axe is intending to hurt her. That was 41 hits though.
Yes. Okay. So that now goes into the self-defense, right? So the prosecutor has the burden of proving that she did whatever the definition that they're going with under murder, right? And then so the defense said, yes, that's true. And then they had what's known as an affirmative defense saying, well, it was self-defense. And so now they have to prove that it was self-defense and have the elements of self-defense. So the first one is that you did not provoke it. So you can't start the argument and then say, oh, it was self-defense. So if you hit somebody and they beat you up, you can't claim self-defense because you started it. This, again, unrelated case, but this is where George Zimmerman goes wrong, is because George Zimmerman bothered that boy. And that's where that went wrong. But one, you did not provoke it. Two, you avoided it if at all possible. You tried to run away. 3, there was imminent harm. That was where Killer Sally went wrong. And 4, proportionality. That's what you're talking. Well, no, sorry. Proportionality is, if someone has a gun, then you have a gun. If it's a knife, like it's the same tool. And then the 5th one is reasonableness. And was it a good decision under the circumstances? And that's kind of where you're questioning if Candy actually acted in self-defense, right? So just going by Candy's story, right? And I think this is where her lawyer heard her story and went, oh, self-defense. And I'll say in going back to the lawyer, this was actually his first criminal case. So he was not a criminal attorney before this. Okay. So did not provoke. And I listened to Candy's story a couple of times, and Candy says that Betty brought up the affair with Alan. Betty pulled out the axe first. Betty pushed Candy, and then she started attacking her with the axe. So Betty's not saying that she's provoking us, right? Then she avoided if possible. Candy threw the axe and tried to run for the door, but then Betty wouldn't let her go. Then Candy tried to run to the garage door, but Betty locked it. So now she can't even avoid it. The imminent harm. Candy testifies that Betty said, "I will kill you." She testified that Betty struck her with the axe, and then they were in this life or death struggle with the axe. So proportionality is the next one. Betty used an axe, so Candy used an axe. So that was proportional. So the last one is reasonable. So given the story, were her actions reasonable under the circumstances?
Not 41 times.
I don't think not 41 times, but how's the tug of war that she said happened? I guess so. As you said, she can't get away. She locks the door, locks her in there. So now I can't get away. I'm gonna have to fight back. But 41 times. So at one point, so again, does she black out and just keep hitting?
Yeah, so I just don't believe Candy's story. Honestly, I'll just tell you right now, I don't believe Candy's story.
What do you think is true? What do you think the story is?
I feel like she provoked Betty, but I also feel like they didn't challenge that, right? And so in watching this movie, it's based on a true story. A lot of the things were true. I will tell you, you will not surprise somebody in the middle of court with, "Oh, by the way, mid-trial, our defense is self-defense." Nope, you gotta tell me that up front.
At the beginning.
You gotta tell me that you were claiming self-defense up front, because it is unfairly prejudicial to my side. So that's where I'm like, nope, that didn't happen. And if it did, he should be sanctioned. But yeah, so that didn't happen. And then the other thing that just minor, but would not happen in real life, is when he's talking to Candy initially, even before, when she's retaining him as a lawyer, and he's like, "Oh, give me $1. Now I'm your lawyer." It doesn't work that way. Okay. So
it doesn't?
It does not. It does not.
I was on Cash App you 5.
Listen, it does not. I will tell you this. It's almost even worse. This is why, like, if you have a friend that is a lawyer and they are not talking to you, it's for good reason. Because the way that you build the attorney-client privilege, whether you hire me or not, but the way that you seal in this conversation that I can never tell anybody, is you believing that you are coming to me for legal advice. And it's all about how that other person feels and not how I feel, right? So if the other person is like, "I'm coming to you for advice and I have this question and I can't share that, because now you created an attorney-client privilege that I can't break." And so when I start talking to people, I'm just like, because I will say this, and I have a very crazy life. I understand this, and I have stories for days. But I have someone that is a friend of mine who came to me. They wanted to talk to me. This case has been tried, so I can talk a little bit about it. And they were like, "Yeah, there were bodies found in my brother's backyard." And I was just like, I now have to sit with that, right? Like I know that was burning on you, but I now have to sit with that, right? And I had to sit with that for a while. And so thank goodness that case has been tried. But like, don't do that to people. Like, that's not okay. And so when people talk to me, I'm like, I don't, because the thing is, like, and it's so fine and minute and all the like little details about ethics is, okay, if you're about to kill someone, I have the duty to disclose. But if you killed someone, I just have to sit with knowing that you're a murderer, right? And that's not okay with me. So don't do that to me. Like, kill people in silence and don't tell me about it.
Don't tell nobody.
Yes. So yeah, but so those two things, I was just like, yeah, this isn't how that works in real life. I mean, it was for the show.
It also brings more that they were having an affair. I was like, I said, there's something between them two. I don't know what it is yet, but there's something there. Like,
yeah, no, I thought there was something there, and I thought too, because of the way, even the way he was treating the judge too, and he kept on getting sanctioned by that. I knew he didn't want that to get out in court, because the whole case was going to be over if that got. Yeah,
because that's what do you call it? that's you're sleeping with your client,
Yeah,
or even
ethics.
even if your affair is over.
It's an ethics violation. You can get
Ethics,
for you.
Yeah.
that's unethical. That's the word I was looking
Yeah.
for. That's unethical. You can't do that. So also that, give me $1. That was on another movie. That's from the movie The Client with Tommy Lee Jones. So I was like, yeah, y'all stop doing stuff like this. But I hear what you're saying. That to me said there's something else going on between her and her lawyer. Because also she went and she talked to the police and she was wearing different shoes. There was a little piece of blood on her shoes. And so, of course, they were asking questions to we just want to ask you some questions.
Mhm.
But then the next day, she was supposed to go in to see the police again. And that's when she goes and talks to the lawyer and tells him everything. Maybe I should maybe I should have a conversation with a lawyer.
Yeah.
And so that's when she goes in and she spills everything. So I was just like, just it was so many. I said, you're going to be caught because you were the last person to see her. As a matter of fact, wasn't it like 44 days? Wasn't it like almost? Hell no. It was before when they found out it was her. When she came into the police, when she came in, it was several weeks, right?
Yeah.
It was several weeks. Yeah, it was several weeks when she came in to the police station. And also leaving the baby there crying like that. There were so many things that I was like, this is so negligent. And for her to just get off scot-free was just really
Yeah. Yes. But I also think that it was a sign of the times, right? So when we were talking about Sally, there was this question of if Sally was tried today, would you get the same verdict? And I feel like yes, and Sally, no in this case, right? Because in this case, there would have been more of a question about, well, who did provoke this argument, right? Like, was it you or was it her? And then who actually brought out the axe? Because there are questions, like I said, like how did Betty find out? Which was an unanswered question throughout this entire series. Then there was another question that I had about where the first, because even when they were doing the reenactment, the police were doing that reenactment where she was struck, I think, in the living room, but then wound up in the garage, or like it was just something didn't add up in that story about where the first hit was versus where the blood was. And I feel like in modern times, there would be a blood splatter expert to explain some of that, because that just was something that was mentioned.
Excuse me.
And I think too,
Sorry.
you're good. We're talking about the early 80s. I think there's also this idea, and you have to think about, going back to the early 80s in Texas, like, oh, a woman couldn't murder another woman. Like that wouldn't have happened. And I think that played a part of it too.
I have a question. Would this also be crime of passion? Because you and I were talking about the that I just don't believe her story. I don't believe that she said to she, meaning Betty, confronted her and said, "You're sleeping with my husband." But we both said that I truly believe she wanted Alan. She really wanted him back. She was really excited about him. But so do you think that she just went after Betty because she was angry and she just blacked out and hit her 41 times? Would that be a crime of passion? If I can't have them either.
Not a crime of passion. So again, crime of passion. So I don't have all the elements written out, but I'll tell you major elements. Before I go into the major elements, you have to remember why crime of passion even became a thing. It just politically, it became a thing so that husbands could kill their wives when their wives were cheating on them. That's the whole part of it. It's like this carve out where if you find out that your wife is cheating on you, you can kill her and then you'll get a lesser sentence, right? Like that's the carve out for crime of passion. And here, Candy and Betty are not married to each other. So that's one of the elements. It has to be done at the time that you find out that your wife is cheating. You can't have a break in time. And there's this break in time.
Yeah.
So
break in time.
Yeah. So it's not a crime of passion.
So can we go back to like where the fight actually started, right? Because when Candy goes to the house and Betty lets her in and she's like, "Oh, her swimsuit is in the garage on
Mhm.
top of the dryer," I think. So to me, I'm thinking that's where it starts because isn't that where the axe is? Or did the axe come from the living room? Like was the axe already out?
From the reenactment, Betty had threatened her with the axe, and then she put the axe down next to the fireplace.
Yeah.
But then I thought that she picked the axe back up and took it into like the room before the garage, like we have where the laundry room is, and then there's the garage.
The mud room, so to speak.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I thought that that's where it was, but then also, as you just said, when the guy picked the baby up, I felt like there was blood on the baby's clothes too. So I was like, how was this how did this fight go?
I think the baby was just soiled really badly.
Oh my, that could have been because it had to been
Oh, yeah.
that's probably what that was instead. So I take that back. So as Tawana was just saying, where do you think the fight started?
I don't know. Like, I'm trying to figure that out myself and I think that they didn't do a great job of explaining it either in the show. Because if you're watching, all right, so if you're listening to Candy, they're sitting there talking in the living room, and then because this is like the oddest story, is that Betty comes in with an axe and then just puts it down, right? Like that's kind of weird to me. But in my mind, what I think happened, because if you're watching the two women and even listening to Candy's story and the reenactment, Candy is kind of walking around the house like she owns it, right? Like she's completely disregarding Betty. She goes, "Oh, you have a dog? Let me go outside and see the dog."
Yes,
the dog.
Real familiar.
Yeah, and then and Betty's like, "We don't pick up the dog. We don't want him to get used to that." And she's just picking up the dog and she's walking around the house. So I feel like it probably did start in the garage because, yeah, Candy was too familiar with the house and she really was just walking through their house like she owned it.
Yeah.
But that's her control. That's her manipulation. Yeah. I agree with you, though. She walked, "Oh, well, what's going on with here? Oh, your house is so much." Like she was very familiar, and she just really very controlling and manipulative. So she act like, "Oh, I'm your best friend. Don't you remember me?" And the truth about it is she hadn't talked to Betty in a while. So in a long time, because she stopped cheating with her husband. So it started in the garage. Let's say it started in the garage. But again, if you threaten this woman with an axe, say, "Stop cheating with my husband," or "You're cheating with my husband," and then she puts the axe down and turns her back on her, that to me is weird. Like, I've just threatened you with an axe. And so, my daughter's bathing suit is in the garage on top of the dryer. That to me is.
I'm thinking maybe she picked it up to scare Candy a little bit, maybe, but didn't really want to use it. But just like, leave my man alone.
So, okay, I agree with you. I think that's in the scenario that Candy told. Absolutely, that's how that happened.
Right, and we don't know. We'll never know Betty's side of the story.
Yeah,
but yeah. I mean, like, I'm sorry. Once I found out, I'd have called Candy. She wouldn't have had a chance to come over to the house.
Well, see, that's the other thing, is that Candy was the one that asked to come over
to get the bathing suit.
Yeah, but
I would have told.
I would have called her.
So you had mentioned that earlier that Candy's the one that wanted to come over, because
she wanted the daughter to stay another night. "Oh, it's okay for her to stay another night. We're going to take her to the movies." No, biatch, give me my child.
Give me my child. Yeah. But you know what? You guys just made me think of something. What if she did like I said, confide in her and say, I know that Alan's cheating, this, that, and the other. And Candy being Candy, because she really likes her ego, or she just, I don't know, just the type of person she was. What if she said, okay, I have to admit something. I have to tell you the truth. It's me. Alan and I were having an affair for about 6 months, but it's over now. It's over. We've stopped. And then, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry about this, Betty. And then Betty picks up the axe. And then Candy takes the axe away from her and hits her. Maybe that's how it happened. Maybe she just confided in her saying, I know Alan is having an affair. I've got, postpartum depression, and like, I'm really feeling, I'm lost my confidence, the whole thing, confiding in her. And she's like, okay, I have one thing. Alan's not having an affair anymore and stuff like that. Maybe that happened. Maybe it happened like this. And Betty did pick up the axe. We still don't think though. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, so if that didn't happen, KB, you think she went into a fit of rage and just started hitting her for no reason?
I can't even say that. I feel like it's one of these situations where I don't know what happened, but I also feel like I don't know what happened because not a lot the questions weren't asked, right? Because they also said that Betty didn't have any defensive wounds. So that would be indicative of her fighting back, right?
Didn't.
You're right.
She did not. But do you think Candy, like once Candy got hit with the axe in the head, do you think that's when she snapped?
No, but remember when the men went to the house, or no, it was the police. They said it's because of the way she was holding the axe that it was hitting her. She was hitting herself.
Oh.
And they said that, because she wasn't in Boy Scouts, so she didn't know how to properly hold the axe. So she was getting that basically reverb when she was wielding the axe.
That makes sense. Okay, so if somebody's hitting you with an axe, you're putting your hands up. Even if somebody in domestic violence, you put your hands up, or somebody's trying to hurt you, that's immediate. You're like this.
Yeah. In my mind,
Crazy.
what I see happening is her getting hit in the back of the head and then falling, and then Candy hitting her with the axe,
wailing on her. She hit her the one time, she fell, and then it just finished the last 40. That's what, because it doesn't make any sense. And whether she was to her side, and that's why the guy didn't know. I don't even think the guys that came into the house, they thought he would, because they saw all the blood. They said she must have been shot. There's just no way, because who would do that? I would think that too. I was like, who would do that? I don't even think they saw the axe, because they just saw the body and closed the door.
And blood, yeah.
We saw the blood and closed the door. So you're right, though. She washed her hair because she had all the blood on her, and she had it was reverb. It was just the blowbacks. But another thing, there was blood on the lampshade. I think the lampshade going into the laundry room. So where did it start? I think you're right. I think it started on your way into the room.
Yeah, see, that's why I feel like if this case were tried now, there would be
a lot more experts involved, right?
There would be a blood splatter expert to tell you where that actually came from.
Where it started, right? Because then when she left the garage and went to the bathroom, did they mention anything about traces of blood going to the bathroom? Because once they got into the bathroom, you just saw like this massive
thing on the mat,
stain of blood on the rug.
Yeah. And then the other problem too is that, remember, Candy tried to clean it up.
Yep. And she was wearing she was wearing shower shoes. So, but she even took her shower shoes home, and that's where she put the shower shoes up the next day or sometime later.
And her husband found them in the garbage can.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, why would you leave them in your garbage can? Like, you put them in a bag, drive the bag, miles away. I don't know.
I did,
I would probably get
there's
caught.
so many things for her to cut it up, and then
Yeah.
you don't think somebody's going to see that? Take the garbage out.
Yeah.
There were so many things wrong with this situation. Uh, I kind of want to go back to this because so you're saying it was B and C, or B and then B1 and 2, intent to cause serious bodily injury and commit an act clearly dangerous to human life that causes the death of, okay, that makes sense because we're hitting somebody with an axe that's clearly dangerous weapon.
Mhm.
But so okay, so last thing, this hypnosis. The lawyer, he hypnotized her, and he said, "Let's try to get something from this hypnosis." So he tried to take her back to what in her childhood when she had like something happen to her.
Yeah.
That's right. Because I
Mhm.
think like her mother shushed her or something, did
Yeah.
something. Yeah, so maybe Betty shushed her. I don't know, child.
Yeah.
It's
No.
crazy.
There were so many holes. There were so many holes, and the fact that she got away with this is so. Oh,
That tripped me out.
Yes, me too. Me too.
I was like, what?
Yeah. I
And
think
now she's a psychiatrist, a
that's
psychologist.
exactly what I was about to say.
Yes. Yes, the craziness. Yes.
So now she's a psychiatrist, a mental health professional. But I want to go back to this. What should she have gotten? What would she have gotten if she had served
Today?
any time? Yeah, today. What would she have gotten?
Okay. All right. Well, I think life. I mean, because I think, and I'm not certain that hypnosis is no longer admissible.
Mm-hmm.
So not certain, but I feel like that's no longer admissible because that has caused a lot of wrongful convictions, especially when it comes to like sexual assault and stuff. So that would have been right. Then there would have been a blood splatter, and I think there would have been more made of these non-defensive wounds, and Betty just not fighting back and not being the aggressor. So I think that she should have been found guilty, but also I can see that was partially, mainly the prosecution's fault. Like they needed to attack that self-defense story a little bit harder.
They weren't, and again, when I saw this, I said, "Oh gosh, it's another issue with a bad lawyer that just did not ask enough questions, didn't."
And let me say this, which I don't know if we've said this, but Alan was trash. Alan was trash. Betty has brothers in real life. They need to jump him. And he was just absolutely trash. like they need to
was trash. Okay, you guys, not only was Alan trash, and back in the day, I guess this happened a lot. I've seen a lot of movies, a couple Black movies that, the wife is dead. Oh, well, let the single woman, the unmarried woman, let me go over with a pie. So, he's a single father. Oh, so now,
he was dating that woman now, or is he married to her?
Alan married Elaine like 6 months later. He married her very quickly after Betty was murdered. And then on the stand, the prosecution didn't poke any holes in what he said either. And it's almost like he felt bad for Candace. He felt like, oh, I should have done more. He just felt bad for Candace. I said, wait, what are you doing?
Yeah. And he said he couldn't picture her actually. He's still surprised. He still couldn't picture her killing Betty.
Right.
And they had the nerve to try to comfort her dad. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Right.
Don't do that. Be trash. Be all the way trash.
If you're gonna be trash, be 100% trash.
10 toes down in your trashness. Yes.
Yes. First of all, you're cheating on your pregnant wife.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't help her or defend her when there were so many chances for you to speak up or just help her while she's dealing with 3 kids or foster child and just going through a lot. The girl's going through a lot. Yeah. So when you finally you want to end this affair, you just start ignoring stuff. Oh well, I just no showed on the affair, whatever. You just stop doing it, and then you did. And
Mm-hmm.
so, oh, it was just he was just all the way trash. He was all the way trash.
Who's trash?
Jerk.
He's just, so he gets married 6 months later. Um, let's talk about Betty's husband though. Betty's husband actually stayed married to her for another
No,
4 years.
you mean Candy's husband.
Candy's husband. Sorry, I'm sorry. We were
Yeah.
just talking about Betty's husband, right?
What's his name? His name is Pat. Pat
Pat,
Montgomery.
yes. Okay, so Pat, excuse me, finds out that Candy and Alan are sleeping together. I don't know why, but he was home alone with the kids. And so he starts doing the same thing Betty's doing, is like listening to music,
Feeling nostalgic and
doing the whole thing. And then he notices it's like seeing all the love letters that they used to write to each other. Then he notices a different color letter, a blue letter. And it's a love letter. Alan, a whole different card. Instead of wanting to fight with her about it, wanting to leave, wanting to do something, divorce something, this man brings her flowers.
He
So let
feels
me do that.
guilty.
He could have killed her, and that would have been crime and passion. That would have
Right.
been crime and passion. Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
And he would have gotten off.
He would have gotten a lesser sentence because that would have been crime and passion.
But
In
I
the
think
moment that you
I think
find out.
he did it because he felt guilty because he, I guess, was not showing her enough attention. Maybe he felt like, oh, I've been taking my wife for granted. I mean, and maybe he replayed in his mind like, oh yeah, she was trying to I guess be spontaneous or whatever, and I kind of have been rejecting her or whatever. I don't know.
I agree. I think that he felt guilty, and he started to really think, oh wow, she really did love me, um and I haven't been paying her enough attention. So let me bring her some flowers. Let me be that husband that I used to be. And then I think it also shocked him after this whole court case goes away, that he finds out that she's taken a second lover. And I'm like, okay, you're gonna walk out, but he still like has to support her in the eyes of the community.
Yeah.
So they still stay together for another 4 years. Betty's trash too because on the way out, Candy. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Not Betty. Betty's passed. Sorry, Betty. But Candy was like, oh, I'm glad that's over. Now we can get back to our normal lives. And he's like, don't you feel bad? Like, don't do that. And she's like, everybody wanted her gone anyway. I was like, wow, just wow.
Oh, so she killed her purposely.
And actually, the legal assistant, he said, you might want to go somewhere and start a new life or whatever. You might want to move. Yeah. And
she had to. Like, how could you stay in that town?
You can't. And honestly, that's how she became a psychologist, because she changed her name.
She sure did.
Yeah.
What's
that town was too small. That town was way too small for me.
Very small. If you sneezed, everybody knew about it.
Everybody knew. Like, it was so small, such a small town. And everybody. That's why everybody, when she was looking at who to cheat with during volleyball, she had to be very selective. She was looking at every guy.
Yeah, everybody became attractive.
Everybody.
But in that second episode, you'll see she's looking at the lawyer too.
Yes, so I remembered it now.
I missed that.
Yes, I remember saying, "Oh, she's going to cheat with him." I thought it was the lawyer first, and then Alan. But nope, she picked Alan, but the lawyer.
But wait, is the lawyer married?
I thought she said that I'm not going to say because it's going to mess up his marriage, and that's what I thought. She said that's the reason why she's not going to.
Because so when the lawyer was doing sit-ups, was he at home or in the office?
I thought he was in the office. He was doing he was sunbathing in the office. He was
But
doing a
yeah,
lot of
he was
things.
doing something. He was tanning.
He was tanning. That's right. Thought he was
Okay,
doing a
so
lot
it
of
was in the office because his assistant was there.
things.
Well, the other lawyer, and then I guess the legal assistant, his admin or whoever. I think she was there too.
But I definitely think it was the lawyer. And then so now the lawyer, everybody, ran for mayor 4 years later.
Yeah, he did.
Where is this town, y'all? That's the Midwest. I guess that's
No,
the
it's in Texas. It's right outside of Dallas.
oh, that's right. Oh, I'm
Mm.
so sorry. It is in Texas because that's where they were having their affair at in Texas. Yes.
Yep. So Alan worked in Dallas.
Mhm.
And so that's where they were actually having the affair in Dallas. So they were having the affair at least outside of
Ah.
town, but they lived in the suburbs of Dallas.
I just think there's so on so many levels. Candy was messy. Like telling the friend I've taken a lover, um, talking to her pastor, saying, "Well, why can't I have an affair? Like I really want to have an affair." Like she was adamant about doing this.
Well, one thing about so before my electricity went out, what I was going to say about the pastor is the pastor gets his divorce in the first episode, but then her pastor, is the one that's like, here, take my smut porn book. Oh, I'm with this guy and she's sitting there and he's touching her butt at the volleyball game and all this other stuff. And she's like, oh, you two guys are having sex. And she's like, oh, not that night. That was before we had. And so this conservative Christian town, I guess the pastor's having this premarital sex, reading this smut porn, giving it to, and I'm like, oh, this is what we're doing in church nowadays. Okay, got it.
Another
Back in
thing
the
that I thought
80s.
was interesting, I agree. I was like, what is happening in this Texas town? Also, the pastor was a Black woman. I thought that was the pastor's wife, but and then it's not a bad thing. But I was like, in the 80s, or like early 80s,
I know.
82,
So they really wasn't talking about Tupperware at these Tupperware parties.
No.
talking about Tupperware. So I just there was a lot of things I was like, huh. And when you see when the pastor comes to the volleyball tournament with this guy that's just like muscles out to everywhere and very flirty, I was like, is this what they're doing? So that actually kind of that took me back. I was like, okay. But they're like, oh my gosh, this is scandalous. They're getting a divorce. Oh my gosh. And
yeah. And
now that wasn't surprised at, but the pastor being a Black woman, that was like, okay, that's interesting. And then the pastor coming to the volleyball game with another guy. I think this was very progressive, free love type of place. I don't know. That's what I got from it. I thought that was very interesting.
The other interesting thing, and again, I feel like just as a society, we need to stop romanticizing long marriages, is that if everyone was reading those romantic novels, right?
Harlequin, there you go, Harlequin romance novels.
Yeah, they weren't surprised when she said, "Oh, I take a lover." It was like, "Oh, that's exciting." People wanted to know more. The scandalous thing here was the divorce.
Yes,
that was the first scandal.
Right?
Oh, we're getting a divorce? What? Yes, they got a divorce. They weren't unhappy like the rest of you.
Right. And the marriage encounter thing wasn't scandalous. You telling your personal business about your marriage, that's not scandalous, but the actual divorce is the bad thing.
Yeah.
I absolutely got the impression that more than just conversation was going on at marriage encounters.
But
I was like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
So, but the divorce is the scandalous thing. So there were so many things. So, what did you guys think of Candy?
You mean Candy or Betty?
I'm sorry. Oh, good question. What did you guys think of Betty first? What did you think of Betty?
I thought Betty was lonely.
Lonely.
Even though she was married, I just felt like she was lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
She didn't have any friends. She felt like the outsider at church. Um, and maybe she just wasn't comfortable in her own skin.
Yeah.
You know, she didn't have the sisterhood like the other women did in the church,
Mhm.
you know? So she felt like the outcast.
Right.
Yeah. I got the impression from the scene from Betty's dad that Betty seemed to um, settle, I guess, for
Mhm.
Alan. Because even I remember her
Mm,
dad saying,
yeah.
um, she was college educated, she was young, she was wanted by a lot of people, and then she chose you. And he was basically like, she could have had anybody, and then she picked you, and this is
Anybody,
what
she
you did with
picked
my
you.
daughter. So I feel like that that was a sad situation for Betty.
Hmm.
That it appeared that
Yeah.
she probably had a more fulfilling life before they got married. Maybe she had more friends or whatever, and then she follows
Mm,
Alan to this town, and she doesn't have any friends, and that didn't help with her depression.
I absolutely got the impression that he moved her to this town, and she didn't have any like close friends that she had in high school. I'm actually trying to look for her high school picture, but she was very pretty. And I don't think that she was ugly then, but like, she just became kind of dumpy. And I'm like, man, I
hmm.
think that, and I know that that partially was the picture that they wanted to portray of her, but very dumpy housewife type of feel. And she was just not happy. Like, I agree with what you just said about not comfortable in her own skin,
Hmm.
and she just wanted to be back to where she was, and she wanted friends. She wanted
Yeah.
friends, and she really wanted to be accepted.
Yeah.
I can't find it anymore. It
Yeah.
was a white picture. It was really, it's like, oh gosh, is this what the real life person looked like? And that's how they portrayed her afterwards. So yeah, that's I got the impression that she just wanted to be accepted by people, and
Mhm.
she wasn't. And it was really sad. I don't see it. But so, and I feel like there's some narcissism in Candy, and I hate just like throwing that, but in Candy specifically, throwing that word around. But
Candy
um,
thought she was hot stuff.
she thought she was hot stuff, and I also feel like when she wasn't being included in the when Betty started going to marriage encounters, and when they went to the baby shower, and then the black girl was talking about, "Oh, I know what's going on with you, marriage encounters." She felt like she wasn't included. Like she was, she wanted to be the center of attention. That's what it is. She
Hmm.
wanted to be the
Yeah.
center of attention.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's
because
why she
remember she
started
had the
throwing
best
shade.
party house. That's why she had to throw the baby shower. She had the best party house.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, she had the
you're
best party
right.
house. She had the best party house, and she's like, I have the best party house, and she wanted to be included and
Mhm.
everything. So I just feel like she wanted to be the center of attention, and
Yeah.
uh, finally she was getting other friends, and they're getting conversation, and she didn't like that. And Betty had something she wanted,
Yeah.
and he didn't really want her anymore. He wanted to concentrate on his marriage, and she didn't like that. She wanted to be the one to break, and I also think she wanted to be the one to break it off. She was feeling really rejected, excuse me, that
Hmm.
he no showed to the last 3 rendezvous, and she didn't like them
That makes
reject.
sense. That makes sense because her husband already didn't want her, right?
Hmm.
And now Alan doesn't want her. And even when she tried to break it off with Alan, I felt like she was really excited when he said, I can't stop. I need you. I need that. Well, he didn't say I need you. He said, I need
Hmm.
this. Right.
Mhm.
And then she got excited again. And
Yes,
so I think she just wanted to be wanted.
Hmm.
And then he just didn't want her anymore.
yeah, and that feeling of not being wanted, that I maybe that feeling of not being wanted sent her into a rage.
Yeah, right. The feeling of being rejected
Yeah,
again, you know?
Yeah.
Because she's feeling like that, she's getting that feeling from her husband, like, oh, you know, he doesn't find me attractive, in which I feel like her husband does find her attractive and, still loves her and wants her, but in all relationships, you get to a comfortable place and you just kind of like settle in.
I agree. Her husband was very comfortable. He was very comfortable.
Hmm.
Yep. And she wanted to be uncomfortable. She wanted to like that excitement
Yeah,
about, yeah.
she wanted to feel wanted,
Hmm.
desired.
And like she liked the feeling of not having a secret. She liked the feeling of almost getting caught, of having that
Well,
secret.
I mean, the books that she was reading, I feel like she was trying to have her own Harlequin romance.
You're right. She wanted to have her own fantasy. Tawana, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Wow, this was a good one, y'all. This was a good one. This was a good one.
Mhm.
Let us know what you would like us to review next time. We're gonna talk. We'll do something. If not this weekend coming, the next weekend, and we'll look at some other stuff to be reviewing. So yeah, and gosh, Ready to Love is back, and Married at First Sight is back again. Every time I say I'm not gonna do it, they pull me back in. I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna do it on my channel, but I've been on Kojo's channel, so I'll probably go on his because Married at First Sight, this gonna be a good one. I just have a feeling this is gonna be a good one. But I've
Okay.
been like, I don't know, about 3 weeks in, I'm just gonna get mad at I'm just like, but yeah, so Ready to Love, Married at First Sight is back, but I really love doing these true crime with you guys. So Tawana, KB, we'll all talk about it and see what we want to do next. Again, if you guys have suggestions for us, please DM me, let me know, or put a message in my channel, and we'll review something next. But yeah, this one was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was a good one. And that's Her with This Peppermint. Ooh, this one was a good one. All right, thank you guys.
Holding a peppermint. Okay. Yeah.
And there's blood too. I cut it, but there's blood all on her side of her face too. Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
Well, good night, everybody. Thank you. Wait, hold on.
Good night.